My dear friends, today I am going to tell you a story that is simple and easy for everyone to understand. This story is about learning English, not through boring rules or difficult books, but through an exciting journey of discovery and practice. Many people dream of speaking English fluently, but they feel afraid or confused. They think learning a new language is too hard. But what if I told you that learning English can be fun, exciting, and part of your daily life? This is the story of a boy named Arjun who lived in a small town where everyone spoke his native language. He wanted to learn English but didn't know where to start. One day, something magical happened that changed his life forever. Let's begin this journey together. The story. Arjun was a curious and determined boy. He loved reading stories, watching movies, and dreaming about traveling the world. But there was one problem. He could not speak English. In his small town, everyone spoke the same local language. English was taught in school, but only in books. People never spoke it in real life, so Arjun never had a chance to practice. One day, his father gave him a challenge. Arjun, he said, if you can learn to speak English fluently, I will take you on a trip to any country you choose. Arjun's eyes widened. He had always dreamed of visiting new places, meeting new people, and experiencing different cultures. But how could he learn English when no one around him spoke it? Determined to find a way, Arjun set out on his journey. Step 1. Surrounding himself with English. The first thing Arjun did was to bring English into his daily life. He changed the language of his phone and computer to English. He started watching English cartoons and movies with subtitles. Even when he didn't understand everything, he listened carefully and repeated the words he heard. At first, it felt strange. The words sounded unfamiliar, and he made mistakes. But he didn't give up. Every day, he learned a few new words, and slowly, English became a part of his world. Step 2. Thinking in English. One day, his teacher gave him a special piece of advice. Arjun, if you want to speak English fluently, you must start thinking in English. Thinking in English? Arjun was confused. How can I do that? It's simple, the teacher said. Instead of thinking in your native language and then translating, try to think directly in English. When you see a tree, don't say the word in your language first, say tree in your mind. When you feel happy, think, I am happy instead of translating it. Arjun decided to try it. At first, it was difficult. His mind kept going back to his native language, but he practiced every day, and soon, English words started coming to him naturally. Step 3. Speaking without fear. The biggest challenge for Arjun was speaking. He was afraid of making mistakes. He worried that people would laugh at him, but then he remembered something his grandfather once told him. Mistakes are proof that you are learning. With this thought in mind, Arjun started speaking English, even when he was alone. He stood in front of the mirror and practiced talking about his day in English. He described everything he saw, felt, and thought. He also started talking to his pet dog in English. Good morning, Bruno. How are you today? His dog didn't understand the words, but he wagged his tail happily. Slowly, Arjun became more confident. Step 4. Making English-speaking friends. One day, Arjun discovered an online group where people from different countries chatted in English. He joined nervously, typing simple sentences at first. Hello, I am Arjun. I'm learning English. To his surprise, people welcomed him warmly. They corrected his mistakes kindly and encouraged him to keep practicing. Through these conversations, he learned new words and phrases that were not in his school books. Soon, he started having voice calls with his new friends. It was scary at first, but with every conversation, he improved. Step 5. Reading and writing. Every day. Arjun knew that reading would help him understand English better. So he started reading simple English books and newspapers. Whenever he found a new word, he wrote it down in a small notebook. He also started writing a daily journal in English. At first, he wrote short, simple sentences. Today was a good day. I played football. But as time passed, his sentences became longer and more detailed. I had a great day today. I played football with my friends and we won the match. I feel very happy and excited. The more he read and wrote, the better he became. The final test. After months of practice, Arjun felt ready. He walked up to his father and spoke to him in fluent English. Dad, I have learned English. I can now think, speak, read, and write in English. I am ready for our trip. His father smiled proudly. You have worked very hard, Arjun. You have proven that anyone can learn a language if they are determined and practice every day. And so Arjun's dream came true. He traveled to a new country, met people from different cultures, and spoke English confidently. He realized that learning English was not just about memorizing words and grammar, it was about believing in himself and never giving up. Conclusion. My dear friends, learning English or any new language is like a journey. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to know every word. You just have to start. Like Arjun, you can bring English into your daily life. You can watch, listen, read, write, and speak a little every day. The more you practice, the easier it becomes. Don't be afraid of making mistakes. Every mistake is a step forward. And one day, without even realizing it, you will find yourself speaking English fluently. So, are you ready for your journey? A new challenge. After his successful trip and newfound confidence in English, Arjun returned home feeling proud of himself. He had traveled to a new country, spoken to many people, and even helped his father communicate with others. But soon he realized something important. Learning English was not just about speaking, it was also about understanding different accents, expressions, and fast conversations. One day, his father asked him, Arjun, now that you can speak English, what will you do next? Arjun thought for a moment. I want to get even better. I want to understand people from different countries, read difficult books, and maybe even teach English one day. His father smiled. Then your journey is not over yet. It is just beginning. Arjun nodded. He knew he had come far, but there was still much to learn. Step 6. Understanding different English accents. A few days later, Arjun was watching an English movie. The actors spoke very fast, and their accent was different from what he had learned. He tried to follow the subtitles, but it was difficult. Frustrated, he thought, why is it so hard to understand different accents? He remembered what his online friends had told him. English is spoken in many countries, and each place has its own way of pronouncing words. You need to train your ears. Determined, Arjun started listening to English speakers from different countries. He watched British movies and paid attention to their pronunciation. He listened to American podcasts and learned new slang words. He watched videos of people from Australia, Canada, and other places to hear different accents. At first it was confusing, but soon his ears got used to the different sounds. He even started imitating them, repeating sentences to practice pronunciation. One day, he met a traveler in his town. The man was from England and spoke English with a strong British accent. To Arjun's surprise, he understood everything. You speak English very well, young man, the traveler said. Arjun grinned. His practice was working. Step 7. Mastering fast conversations. Even though Arjun was confident in English, sometimes he struggled when people spoke too fast. He wanted to improve his listening and response time. So he created a new challenge for himself. Think fast, speak fast. Every day, he listened to a short conversation in English and tried to understand it without subtitles. Then he would try to reply as quickly as possible. He also started practicing shadowing, a technique where he listened to a sentence and immediately repeated it out loud, copying the speed and pronunciation. One day, he joined an English speaking debate group. The discussions were quick and full of new words. At first, he hesitated, but then he remembered his practice. When his turn came, he spoke confidently and clearly. His words flowed naturally, and for the first time, he felt like a true English speaker. Step 8. Thinking like a native speaker. One day, Arjun's teacher gave him a new challenge. Arjun, if you really want to master English, you must start thinking like a native speaker. But I already think in English, Arjun said. Yes, but do you know how native speakers express their ideas? They use idioms, phrasal verbs, and natural expressions. Arjun had never thought about that before. So he started paying attention to how native speakers spoke. Instead of saying, it's very easy, they said, it's a piece of cake. Instead of, I am very tired, they said, I am exhausted. Instead of, let's start, they said, let's get the ball rolling. Fascinated, Arjun started writing down these expressions in a special notebook. He used them in his conversations and soon sounded more natural. One day he surprised his teacher by saying, I'm feeling under the weather today. His teacher laughed. You've truly started thinking like a native speaker. Step 9. Teaching others. As Arjun became more fluent, he realized something important. Teaching is the best way to learn. Many of his younger cousins and friends wanted to learn English, but they were afraid, just like he had been. So Arjun decided to help them. He created a small group where he taught English in a fun way, through games, songs, and real conversations. He told them his secret methods and encouraged them to practice every day. Slowly, his friends became more confident. They started speaking English, and some even joined him in online discussions with people from other countries. Seeing them improve made Arjun happier than anything else. He realized that English was not just a language, it was a bridge to the world, connecting people from different backgrounds and cultures. The final chapter. A dream come true. One day, Arjun received an exciting email. It was from an international organization inviting him to attend a youth conference abroad. The event was in English, and they had selected him because of his fluency and confidence. Arjun couldn't believe it. He had started his journey as a boy who didn't know how to speak English. Now, he was invited to represent his country at an international event. At the conference, he met young people from all over the world. They shared ideas, discussed global issues, and formed friendships, all in English. At that moment, Arjun realized something important. Learning English had given him more than just words. It had given him opportunities, friendships, and a future full of possibilities. As he stood on the stage, preparing to give his speech in front of hundreds of people, he took a deep breath and smiled. He had done it. He had turned his language into English, and this was only the beginning. Conclusion, my dear friends. Arjun's journey shows us that learning English is not about being perfect. It is about practicing, making mistakes, and never giving up. Anyone can learn English, just like Arjun did. Surround yourself with English. Think in English. Speak without fear. Listen, read, write, and practice every day. And most importantly, enjoy the process. One day, without even realizing it, you will find yourself speaking English fluently. And who knows, maybe like Arjun, you will stand on a stage speaking English confidently to the world. A new goal: becoming a global communicator. After returning from the youth conference, Arjun felt more inspired than ever. He had seen how powerful language could be. It connected people from different backgrounds, helped solve problems, and created opportunities. But he also realized something else. Speaking English fluently was just the beginning. To truly master English, he needed to become a global communicator, someone who could express ideas clearly, understand different cultures, and use language to make a difference. Arjun set a new goal for himself. He wanted to use English to inspire others and make an impact on the world. And so his next adventure began. Step 10. Mastering public speaking in English. One day, Arjun's teacher invited him to participate in a public speaking competition. At first, he hesitated. Speaking English in a conversation was one thing, but standing on a stage in front of hundreds of people was another. What if I forget my words? What if I make mistakes? He worried. But then he remembered how he had overcome his fear of speaking English in the first place by practicing, making mistakes, and learning from them. So, he accepted the challenge. For weeks, he practiced in front of a mirror. He recorded himself speaking and listened to his pronunciation. He watched famous speeches by great English speakers and learned how they used their voices, expressions, and gestures. On the day of the competition, he walked onto the stage, took a deep breath, and spoke. His voice was clear, his words were powerful, and when he finished, the audience clapped loudly. That day, Arjun realized something important. English was not just about knowing words, it was about how you use them to inspire, convince, and lead. He had taken another step toward becoming a true global communicator. Step 11. Writing like a professional. Now that Arjun could speak confidently, he wanted to improve his writing. He knew that in the modern world, writing emails, articles, and even books in English could open many doors. So he started a blog where he shared his journey of learning English. At first, his writing was simple, but as he practiced, he improved. He learned about sentence structure, storytelling, and persuasive writing. People from different countries started reading his blog. They left comments saying, "Your story inspired me," and "I also want to learn English like you." One day, an international magazine contacted him and asked if he wanted to write an article for them about learning English. Arjun couldn't believe it. His words were reaching the world. He spent days perfecting his article. When it was finally published, he felt a deep sense of pride. Now, he was not just speaking English. He was using it to share knowledge and inspire others. Step 12. Thinking beyond English. Understanding cultures. As Arjun continued his journey, he realized something interesting. English was a language, but it was also a bridge to different cultures. When he spoke with people from the US, UK, Australia, and other countries, he noticed they used different phrases, had unique customs, and viewed the world differently. To truly connect with people, he needed to understand their cultures, values, and ways of thinking. So he started learning about different cultures through books, documentaries, and conversations. He learned that in some countries, shaking hands was a common greeting, while in others, people bowed or hugged. He discovered that humor and body language could mean different things in different places. He realized that understanding culture made conversations deeper and more meaningful. Now, when he spoke English, he didn't just speak words, he connected with people on a personal level. The ultimate test, a live TV interview. One day, something incredible happened. A news channel invited Arjun for a live TV interview about his journey of learning English. This WPA is the biggest challenge of his life. Speaking in front of a live audience with cameras recording every word was completely different from anything he had done before. But he remembered all his lessons. He thought in English without translating. He used natural expressions and idioms. He spoke confidently as if he were talking to a friend. He remembered that mistakes were just part of learning. When the interview began, he felt nervous, but as he started speaking, the fear disappeared. He answered questions smoothly, told his story with passion, and even made the interviewer laugh with a funny anecdote. When the interview ended, he received messages from people around the world saying, Your story inspired me to learn English too. At that moment, Arjun realized that he had truly turned his language into English, not just as a skill, but as a way to connect, inspire, and lead. The final chapter, a life changing opportunity. A few months after the interview, Arjun received an email that would change his life forever. It was from an international university, offering him a scholarship to study abroad because of his excellent English communication skills and leadership abilities. He couldn't believe it. All those years of practice, all the small steps he had taken, from watching English cartoons to writing a blog, had led him to this moment. His dream had come true. With his family's support, he packed his bags and flew to a new country, ready to start the next chapter of his life. As he stepped into the university campus, surrounded by students from all over the world, he smiled. English had given him a new life, a world of opportunities, and a future full of endless possibilities. And his journey was only just beginning. Final thoughts. Your own journey with English. My dear friends, Arjun's story teaches us that anyone can learn English. No matter where they start, you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to memorize every grammar rule. All you need is passion, practice, and the courage to make mistakes. If you are starting your journey with English, remember this. Surround yourself with English in your daily life. Speak, even if you make mistakes. Think in English instead of translating. Learn from real conversations, books, movies, and experiences. Enjoy the process and never give up. One day, just like Arjun, you will wake up and realize you are speaking English fluently, confidently, and naturally. And maybe, just maybe, your journey will inspire someone else to do the same. The end.